Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out with Boxing Mind. James Ali Bashir, who's been in both camps, both with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, heading into their heavyweight title showdown this weekend. James, good to see you. Good to see you keeping a beard as well, too, looking well.
Yeah. I feel pretty good. I don't have to shave. I don't have to do no work. So,
Well, the beard looks good on you.
yeah, it feels good.
How's things been with you? How's things been with Vlad?
Vlad is okay. Vlad is all right now. We'll be together in a few days. He's been in Germany for the past couple of months, preparing himself. He's just signed with Queensberry, so, the work is ahead of us.
When's he most likely to be out in the ring next?
We're going to probably be in Saudi in December, but in the meantime, we're going to take a fight here in Tennessee prior to us going to Saudi. This fight is just to reintroduce himself to boxing because he's been out for quite some time. He's had a couple of so-so fights to get himself back into the frame and mind of boxing. So, he had an injury, so now he's back. We're going to box in Tennessee. I think it's the 1st of October. We're going to box in Tennessee, a 10-rounder.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully we'll go to Saudi in December.
Let's talk then and change our focus to Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois this weekend. A real interesting fight, which is ramped up now towards this weekend's Wembley Stadium showdown. First of all, I just want to ask you about the moment and the occasion here. We've seen that Anthony Joshua has been in these stadium fights beforehand. Daniel Dubois, somewhat a newcomer to this sort of thing. He's boxed at Wembley before, though low down the card, but he did headline, of course, with Usyk in Poland at the stadium there. I just wonder, what was Daniel like managing the occasion on that night, and was that ever an issue heading into that fight?
No, I didn't sense that it was any kind of issue. In fact, Daniel Dubois was pretty comfortable in his skin, going into the fight. And, I've studied him days leading up to the fight and those actions that were prior to the fight itself inside the stadium. And he didn't seem rattled at all.
Is he someone, do you think, that he really notices like the crowd or the attention or, the spotlight like that?
Like I said, if he's rattled, he's doing a great job of masking it, but I didn't sense it, and I'm a pretty good judge of character, in the locker room and the days leading up to the fight. I can tell most of the time when a guy is really nervous or jittery, but I didn't get that from Dubois at all.
I want to ask you, having been in both camps of both fighters here, of the two, a lot of talk has been as to who's got the better jab and who needs to be on the front foot establishing their jab and who can really do that this weekend. Of the two, who do you pick to have the better jab and the more chance of being able to establish the pace of the fight?
Much has changed. These guys have made adaptations and evolutions in their boxing styles. Like I said at the very beginning, this is a 50-50 fight. Any one of these guys could win it. But I do believe that if one hurts the other, that the one that gets hurt will not survive long enough to come back in the fight. I think that will be over. I think it's a short fight. I think it's a very explosive fight, a very short fight, and both of them was going to have to make adjustments in their mindset and in their styles. Daniel Dubois cannot go into the Joshua fight taking the same blows that he took from Philip Ergovic. He can't do that. That he's got to readjust himself to be more defensive minded, because Anthony Joshua is a bigger puncher than Philip Ergovic.
Mm-hmm. A lot of conversations also being surrounding us to, the power that both hold in their punches, but this is more focused on them hitting up to the top, the head, and headhunting for the knockout. I just wonder, How good are both fighters in setting up shots to the body and being able to finish to the body too?
These are two big guys, two strong guys, two heavy-handed guys. So it's hard to gauge what they'll do in their attack plans. Whether they'll work behind a jab, you know, whether they'll try to pressure each other. And I think that Dubois will be the one to lead the charge in aggression. But he has to be aggressive with diplomacy. He just can't go out there and be aggressive the way he was, again, with Philip Ergovic. He can't do that with Joshua, you know, because I think that Joshua is going to be into the counterpunches mode. He's not going to engage this young guy, you know, because he knows that Dubois can punch. And Dubois has got to know that Joshua can punch. So I think that Dubois is going to be aggressive from the opening bell. And Joshua is going to be more in a counterpunches mode.
That Philip Hergovich fight has been highlighted for Dubois being taking a load of right hands from Philip and going through the storm to eventually stop Philip, who suffered 2 cuts in that fight on the way to defeat Daniel Dubois. You feel that Daniel can't take that game plan and mentality into the fight against Ante Joshua?
Put it like this here. If I were the trainer, I would not advise that. I would try to make it a duel of the jabs. I would work behind the jab, try to feel my way, try to feel what Anthony has, what he's planning on doing, but I would use the jab as an introduction, as a calling card. And I would stay behind that jab until I found a way to land left hook, to land right hands. But just outright aggression, I don't think that's a wise thing to do with an Anthony Joshua. I think that he should work behind the jab and be very careful. It's like, this fight is like walking in a minefield. One click and you know it's done, you know? So it's a very tedious situation with the two of them.
In your time with Dubois, how good was he boxing off the back foot? And do you feel he'll need to do that in this fight with AJ?
I think there'll be pockets, instances where he has to box off the back foot, and then there's instances where he won't have to do it. It's a great adjustment for both guys. You know, you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Timing is everything, especially in a fight like this here. As I said before, this fight is like two guys walking in a minefield. Once you hear that click, it's pretty much over. That's what's so interesting about it, because they have the power to take each other out.
Who has the greater power in both hands heading into this weekend?
I've been with both of them, and I'm telling you, both of these guys can punch. These guys are big punchers, you know, and with the left and right hand, they can punch. I've been there with Anthony Joshua. I've been there with Daniel Dubois on more than one occasion, and both of these guys big problems if they land in their punches anywhere.
With that said, then, how do you feel the fight does unfold? Who do you think wins the heavyweight showdown?
I can't say. This is very, very, very touchy, this fight. These guys are big, strong guys that are very capable of taking each other out. That's why I said whoever lands the critical punch that's going to injure the other guy, I don't think the guy that got hurt in this fight has a good chance of getting out of there. If either of them hurts the other, I don't think the other one can come back in the fight. I think that the fight will be over.
Is that because, look, a lot of people make mention of maybe the heart of both fighters or the chin of both fighters. Is that because whilst they're powerful in their aggression, maybe there's some fragility in their defense and punch resistance?
People keep alluding to Joshua don't have a chin and Dubois doesn't have heart. You never know the people that are saying these things, they've never been in a situation where they had to go into an atmosphere where there are thousands of people looking down on a one little small ring like these are two ants, and you're under the pressure, you know, the pressure to perform. I don't think, I said to one guy day before yesterday, he said, oh, well, Joshua's not this, Joshua's not this. I said, but the guy is the two-time heavyweight champion of the world. What are you talking about? This guy's a two-time heavyweight champion of the world. Daniel Dubois is the two-time heavyweight champion of the world. Because he had the WBA, now he's got the IBF, so he's two-time heavyweight champion too. So I don't get into those kind of conversations when they start saying, well, this guy don't have this, and he don't have the stamina, but he's a two-time heavyweight champion of the world. So he's doing something right. So I stay away from those conversations. This is a good fight between two competent professionals. One of them is going to win and one of them is going to lose, but I don't think this is going to be a long fight. I just don't see this being a long fight. I think that this fight will be explosive, and I think the fight will be inside of 6 rounds, no more than 7 rounds.
A question for you, just following on that. You calling this a short fight as well too? Is that in part as well because of Anthony Joshua and his admittance that he isn't a 12-round fighter, and he's had to manage his gas tank as well? Daniel Dubois too, who has to manage his gas tank.
That seems to be what a lot of people are hanging their hats on, the fact that he's not a 12-round fighter. But again, I don't buy into that. It's not. It's a situation where Joshua knows his shortcomings, and I suppose that he's worked on those shortcomings his whole career. Now, I think that these are adjustments that has to be made over a period of time, and he's had enough time, enough experience, enough big fights. He's been under the pressure a lot, especially in the Klitschko fight, and he's come through. So he's at this point, he should be well prepared to go the distance. He's got to know when to step on the gas and when to take something off the gas. But a lot of people don't think that he has the ability to go to 12 rounds. But I still say that he's still young enough. And he doesn't strike me as a guy that drinks and does a lot of harsh living when he's not training. So I think that he'll make the adjustments that's necessary to stay in this fight. Daniel Dubois is a fire plug. He's going to fight. He's going to fight. And he's enthusiastic about fighting. So he can be dangerous inside that point itself. He could be very dangerous.
Would you call Dubois AJ's toughest test to date? So on this comeback trail, when it's from Franklin, when it's from Robert Helenius, Otto Wallin, Francis Ngannou, would you name Daniel Dubois as a tougher opponent than those on the recent AJ comeback trail?
Yeah. Yeah. You got one guy, his mental state is saying, look, I've got to prove myself in this fight, because the critics don't think that I can stay in there with a young guy like Daniel Dubois over a long period of time, And then there's this thought and action that Daniel Dubois knocked Joshua out before, so that's floating around there. So yeah, I would say that this is his toughest fight. Mm-hmm. He's on the hot seat in this fight. This is his chance to become 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, and this is Daniel Dubois' chance to say, let me get rid of this gorilla that's on my back. Once I get rid of this head, then it looked like smooth sailing from there on, you know? So it's a lot of pressure for both guys.
What will be the influence of Daniel Dubois' father in the corner? Do you feel that he should be a key figure in the corner to guide Dubois to success if it's still working as it has been the last few fights?
You know, different strokes for different folks. Whatever makes the wheel turn, whatever greases the wheel. If Daniel Dubois is saying that his father is such a notable figure in his corner, then who's to say that it's not? You know, I would stay closer to the teachings of Don Charles. Don Charles is more of a boxing person than the father. But again, the father has been with his son his entire life. His father knows what ticks, what turns him on, what turns him off, the do's and don'ts. So you got a combination there. But I would stick closer to the tutelage of Don Charles. That's the wise thing to do, because I don't think that the father is a boxing figure that in the heat of battle, it may be a bit much or not enough. So I would stay closer to the teachings of Don Charles, but I guess it's going to be a combination of between the two of them inside the corner.
Actually, just for each fighter, could you break down kind of what the route to victory is for each fighter?
For Dubois, I think, I don't want to, I saw some things when Dubois was the tidbits that I saw from training. And when I'm watching people train, I always think what I would do to critique those elements, you know. And I saw some things that I didn't like, you know. Maybe that's just what they wanted to show. Maybe they're not showing it all. And the same thing with Joshua. I saw things that I would critique, some things that I would change with both fighters. You know, but I'm a boxing trainer, but not just a trainer. I like to view myself as a boxing teacher, and the things that I would teach would take them away from some of the things that they're doing inside the gyms in their preparation. You know, so I really can't say.
Fair enough, James. No worries. I'll leave the final word with yourself. What else would you like to say about this tremendous showdown happening this weekend?
It's a tight fight. This is a tight fight. You know, this is a tight fight. These guys are going to be at their emotional best. And I just can't pick a clear winner. I can't pick a clear winner. This is a really good fight. We haven't had a heavyweight fight like this here in quite some time. You know, this reminds me of Larry Holmes versus Kenny Norton, stylistically, because their styles fed each other. And these two styles is going to feed each other. You know, somebody will be ebb and flow. You know, it's ebb and flow. And these are the kind of styles we're dealing with. But like I said, I think that this fight is going to be a short fight. I think that somebody's going to get KO'd in this fight. And when the KO happens, it's going to happen early. It's going to happen in 6, no more than 7 rounds. I don't see the fight going a long way. And put it like this here, if the fight goes past 6 or 7 rounds, I'll be surprised. I'll be really surprised. You know, I think that these guys are going to engage each other. They're going to be jockeying for position to see who could rattle the other mentally, spiritually, physically. That's the message that I would send to the fight I was training. We've got to rattle this guy. We got to take this guy out of his element. We got to rattle him. We got to hit him with something to just distract him just for long enough for us to get the big shots in. Once we get the big shots in, you don't let them off the hook. You try to go in and finish the job. This is a good fight.
James, pleasure is all mine. Looking forward to speaking to you on the back end of the fight. Thank you so much for speaking to Seconds Out, sir. We'll catch
Yeah,
you very soon.
always, brother. Always, always. Have a good night.
You too.